part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
All right, so I'm going to ask Sayla. Sayla, are you excited for the movie? So if you want to talk, ready?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, baby.
Solomon, are you ready for the movie?
Yes, I am. I'm pretty excited because, we know what Shazam is, and we know this is like, I haven't seen Dwayne Johnson movie in forever.
Well, technically, we did see Super Pets, and he voiced Krypton.
Yeah.
But you mean live action Dwayne Johnson?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like that.
So what character besides Black Adam are you most excited to see, Solomon? Oh, that's right. Solomon, you're all about seeing Atom Smasher, aren't you?
Yeah.
This is there.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see Dr. Fate.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see Doctor Strange.
You mean Dr. Wrong movie, Sayla.
I'm excited to see Atom Smasher. I really don't know much about Atom Smasher, and I think I'm going to learn more about his story.
All right, sounds good.
Look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's...
This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action. This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Birthright. You're listening to the Krypton Report.
Welcome to the Krypton Report podcast. I'm your host, Tyler, the Superman of Blue, the man of tomorrow. And with me is the lovely Jania. What's up, Jania?
What's up?
It's like the gods have descended upon us. And then fighting his way through all the slums and brothels of Kahndaq is Teth Cole. What's up, man?
What's going on?
Jeez, Pete. That was a heck of an intro. Jeez.
That's right. James officially changed his name to Teth Cole. I thought that was cooler than Black
Yeah,
James.
legally. It's on my ID now.
I have changed my name to the Champion. Actually, I just want to get Digimon Hansu just to say my name. Like that's what I want. I want that as a recording somewhere. Like
Right.
You want him to say the most generic white man name ever?
Yeah,
Jonathan. Tyler. Patrick. You have 3 first names.
I know. I want to say all
Yes,
three,
which is a signal for a serial killer.
or an assassin. John Wilkes Booth. Lee Harvey Oswald.
None of those are good things.
I know. Like I know. Thank you.
It's just terrible.
But we are here to talk Black Adam. That's right. A film that in many ways is 15 years in the making.
Jeez.
A little trivia. I was reading in the book Batman's Batman, which is a companion piece to Michael Uslan's The Boy Who Loves Batman, about how he was working years ago trying to get about 2007, getting a Shazam Black Adam movie together off the ground, and they were working. And this is where Dwayne Johnson was first looked at / cast or whatever to be Black Adam. And then it kind of just dissolved and yada, yada, yada. And then back in, was it 2014? Shortly after the big announcement of all the Justice League people and everything, I'll say 2014, 2015, right around there, it was like re-announced that DC would be pushing forward with Dwayne Johnson as Black Adam. And then it's just kind of been building steam. We've all been kind of like, what's going on with it? Then 2020, we got that kind of conversation piece with Dwayne Johnson as, you know, talking about the film. And then officially last year, they started filming it. And that's when we knew magic was happening, when they actually started filming it. But man, there's no other bigger hype man than Dwayne Johnson for a project.
Didn't we see like a video recently where it was like when he started talking about being Black Adam, what he looked like at that time and stuff? Like he looked so young.
It was back when he was in his like wrestling style,
Yes!
when he had like hair.
Yes.
And he had the more leaner athletic build compared to just being pure solid
Bulk.
rock.
Yeah, it was when he was doing those sports movies, and he had and he thinned down, he leaned out.
Speaking of sports movies, geez, quick trivia, Jania, do you remember the movie The Game Plan with The Rock?
Vaguely.
Do you remember what it's about?
No.
It's the one where he's the football player
and has the daughter.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That daughter grew up to be Cyclone, part of the JSA.
Oh shoot.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah.
So she's back at it with Dwayne, but all right. So let's
that's
get into
how long he's been acting. Like he worked with her as a child on a movie. Now she's an adult.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Still, I mean, we all know the greatest film that Dwayne Johnson was ever in was The Tooth Fairy. Let's not even
I knew you were
deny it.
going to say that.
Let's not even deny it, people. Okay, let's not even deny it. But let's get into some spoiler-free discussions. Like this episode is going to be completely dedicated to talking, reviewing, everything about the movie Black Adam, DC's recent release in theaters. So we'll start with our guest, Jania.
What's that?
The goddess Jania. She sleeps 30 feet away, people.
Oh my gosh.
Just spoiler-free thoughts.
Oh, that's hard. So I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the backstory. Probably some of my favorite aspects of the whole movie was the backstory. Yeah, I'm trying to think of I'm trying to not spoil stuff. But yeah, I mean, it was all that I wanted it to be, I guess. And it kind of exceeded my expectations. I really didn't have a whole lot though to begin with, so I don't know if I can, speak too heavily on that. I think it was a really good film in the aspect, like, you didn't really have to know anything about Black Adam to enjoy it, in my opinion. It just seemed like you could just enter the movie and be like, yep, I'm good. It's just a good film. Trying to think. Yeah, I mean, I love The Rock and just about everything that he does. We've made jokes before that I would leave Tyler for The Rock.
That's understandable.
It's not true, but yeah.
If she did, it would make sense. I'd be like, well, I mean, we can blame her.
Yeah.
I mean, I ain't arguing again. I'd be like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
The only dude that really has competition with you would probably be Jason Momoa, Tyler, so calm down.
I gotta fight Black Adam or Aquaman. Wow. In this corner stands The Rock. In this corner stands Momoa. And in the other corner stands Schmuck.
Schmuck.
Schmear.
Maybe I can win with my lovely charm.
But no, I like the dude and just about everything he does. So I think he did an amazing job, of course, with it. I think it was kind of enjoyable to see him in a role where he wasn't that like immediate fun-loving, Rock that we see in just about everything else,
Mm-hmm.
He tends to always have a smile on whenever he's doing any role, and this one was very, not that. So it was just kind of a cool side of him as an actor. I liked that a lot. Yeah, that's what I got.
All right, James, spoiler-free thoughts.
Spoiler-free. I had a whole lot of fun. I've seen it twice. I thought it was great. It's action-packed. The visuals are awesome. The Rock as a super being is pretty sweet. I mean, he's always larger than life. but to see him actually play this god level character is really cool. The JSA was so good. Everybody cast in this movie was great. If there was, yeah, I really enjoyed myself throughout the movie. When it first started, I was a little worried, and then it seemed to unfold just fine. So when it first started, I was like, oh man, is it really starting this way? So,
We'll unpack that more
you
in
know,
a minute.
and then I think it definitely could have had more time in the movie to flesh a couple of things, but otherwise, like, you know, it's 2 hours and 4 minutes. I mean, I'm sure a 2-hour runtime was pretty much like, this is what you got to meet for like the entire production. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
With the people who were running it when that was being filmed. So
Yeah.
I think, but
I could.
I think that's just, and it, with the 2 hours, it had plenty to do. Introducing so many characters. I had a whole lot of fun with it, and I really want to see it again for a third time.
Well, I'd like to just see it a second time there, man. Leave some theater time for the rest of us.
Well, I also want to see Terrifier 2, so I don't know. It's a toss-up.
I want to go see Lyle Lyle Crocodile, but my kids haven't been good enough to go. So we might just have to wait for streaming for that because of their behavior. You know what I'm
Yeah, I
saying?
might have to wait for streaming for my thing, too.
Well, we will
I got to take Jimmy with me because Jamie and the baby were sick, so I got to see it myself Thursday, and then I got to take Jimmy with me to go see it, which is kind of cool because we went and saw Shazam at its early screening together.
Yeah,
that was
was cool when they did that.
Yeah.
All right, so I would say I really enjoyed the movie. I didn't have expectations because in a lot of ways, like from what we discussed last week, Black Adam has been a character that has leaned heavily into Shazam, has never really stood on its own. He's always been with somebody, and predominantly the Justice Society. I did pay attention. They are the Justice Society. We don't have the of America, which was good. And I just wanted a fun action movie that was not comic camp or anything, but just like enjoyable. And that's what it was. It was, you know, if you look at the two biggest, you know, the two DC comic book movies we've got live action this year, we have The Batman, this really serious, gritty noir film. And then we have Black Adam, which was I don't want to say over the top because it is within the bounds of the comic book and the source material, but just action, powerful film. So I highly enjoyed it.
It's a comic book on screen.
Oh yeah.
Like, I mean, it fully is.
Out of 10, what would you rate it, James?
I mean, for my enjoyment factor, for the way that they developed a story similar to a comic origin and streamlining it just for Black Adam himself, I really enjoyed myself, entertainment and everything. I give it an 8 out of 10.
Jania?
I was going to say 8 out of 10 as well. It was quite enjoyable.
Sometimes movies are supposed to be fun, you know? And I think a lot of critics forget that.
You know, and that's kind of the thing. Like, I don't have a whole lot of comic book knowledge when it comes to Black Adam, so I don't know what to expect from that end of things. But just as far as like an enjoyable movie as an audience member who knows somewhat of the material but isn't completely submerged in all of it, it was cool. It was really cool. I liked the feel of it. I liked the edginess of the character. And I like how they painted him as an anti-hero, not some kind of like, I don't know, like what's the word I want to use here? Like redeemable hero or something like that. Like he is an anti-hero. He's not really
his
you know.
own thing.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He is. His own thing.
He does plenty of good, but when it benefits him and people around him, like he's not a hero going to look for trouble. But if trouble comes his way, he's going to handle it however he deems worthy.
Right.
I too would just give it an 8 out of 10. So I enjoyed it. It was fun. I'd like to see it again just to take everything in because there is a lot going on in the action. Just picking up details in the action.
I'd like to go see it again without our children. I love them dearly, but it's hard to sit during a whole 2-hour movie and not get up to go to the bathroom.
Well, we told Sayla before we were at lunch, like, stop drinking so much, Luna. You don't have to pee in the movie. I'll be fine, Daddy. And she's like, I gotta go.
4 times.
Oh, Lord.
So,
Kids.
all right. So we are at the 14-minute mark here, and that is our spoiler-free discussion. We are now going to get into in-depth conversation and spoil the crap out of this thing. So if you want to bounce out, this is your moment. And here we go. So Black Adam, currently right now, has a B+ from CinemaScore. The IMDb rating is 7.1. And of course, that thing that we always are find divisive, Rotten Tomatoes. The fans have spoken. 90% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes with 39% on the tomato meter. Now, I had predicted before when this movie was coming out that it would be kind of like, in a way, DC's Venom, the other major anti-hero movie franchise. And just by looking at the first Venom, the audience is at 80 with the tomato meter at 30. So just kind of...
And, just speaking as a comparison to the two, to get this out of the way, like, Black Adam's body count in this is massive.
Massive.
It's huge. He killed so many people. And
I don't think there is an inner gang anymore.
He did it in a way that they were able to show. They just blew the PG-13 rating like out of the water, like the way that Carnage should have been. In that, like, the body count is just so much higher. Like, it's just the way they did it. But man,
I would just like to see, just as a throwout, like Bruce Wayne sitting in the Batcave watching that scene of Black Adam, and Alfred just being like, "And you said Superman was going to burn it down, sir."
Right?
And he's just like, I was wrong."
Yeah. Well, so the Black Adam box office from this weekend was even a smidge higher than predicted. Reported today was $142.9 million worldwide in its opening weekend.
And I double checked this. It does open in China in November.
Ooh, nice. That'll help. So
that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of money, most likely. I mean, they love The Rock over there.
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't? Like, but the worldwide box office and the Chinese market is huge, especially for these comic book movies.
Yes.
The Rock is like, people who love animals and how they feel about people who don't love animals. Like, if you don't love The Rock, like, there's a problem with you.
Right. Like, I bet dogs bark at you, too.
Now, the director of the film, I'm not going to try to pronounce his name.
I think it's Wame.
Okay.
James is like, I'm on it.
I think that's what it is.
I heard Dwayne say it once, and it was so quick. I was like, "Oh man!" He directed most recently the Jungle Cruise with Dwayne.
Nice.
He directed the film Unknown with Liam Neeson, House of Wax, that horrible thing, but it did have Paris Hilton get killed in it, so that was pretty cool. Orphan.
It's not the worst horror movie.
Orphan.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
The Shallows, and then this movie is one of those I've wanted to watch for a while. Was Run All Night, and I always
Is that the Paul Walker one?
No, it's the one with Joel Kinnaman. It
Oh,
It was
okay.
right there in the time that like
What's the Run
BBS was
movie
coming
with
out.
Paul Walker?
Just Run or Running Scared.
Oh, Running Scared. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, Run All Night was like it had Joel Kinnaman in it, and was scored by Junkie XL.
Ooh, nice.
It was all right before BVS. So he has a unique background, and he's been directing for a while. The score for this was top notch. It was very impactful. And so now we can get into just
I mean the score. I liked the score, and I liked most of the needle drops too. Throughout the movie.
I'm a little sad that they didn't find a way to get Johnny Cash's Man in Black in there somewhere.
Right. It's just one of those things like needle drops are coming back. For a while, they kind of disappeared, and it was all about the score or the music because it pertained to the movie. Like it was a Disney movie and had songs that go along with it. But for a long time there, it went away. So I know that for a while, people had been talking about that, and it actually the last couple of years started to really come back. Maybe the last 5 years, 6 years.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think when it really started, but yeah, I mean, that sounds about the right time frame. Now, all right, so we're in spoilers. James, what were you worried about, you said, when the film started?
So when the film starts and it opens up, we get a narration, which, most of us know that if the movie opens with a narration, that was something that was added later because people in focus groups were like, I didn't understand this or whatever. So they feel like they have to lead in with something.
Yeah. That's kind of like, I feel like it's like a 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 type thing. Because if you have a story like The Lord of the Rings, where you have Galadriel.
But that's Lord of the Rings is so massive, like you couldn't get away with not doing it.
Right. Or you have something like Hocus Pocus or Ernest Scared Stupid, which are almost the same movie framed wise, where they're telling a story. That's kind of where we're at. We're being told a story.
Yeah, and that's what so initially I heard that and the voiceover, and it was a child too. So I was like, oh no, what is this? Like, it made me a little worried right off from the beginning. But after a short period of time, just a couple of minutes, I was like, well, I'm sure that's going to be there for a reason, and that's the way it is there for a reason. It's there to tell us this is how the story has been passed down, to later give us the reveal of, word of mouth is something different than what actually happened of a story that's passed down for 5,000 years.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
So after I saw that, I was like, okay, well, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, so since we're talking about the beginning, I found it interesting that we had the Sabak story start in the past. That the king was going to use Sabak, gain the powers of Sabak, and basically take over Kahndaq. I also like the quick drop. If you like, Kahndaq came before Egypt. It was like talking about it was one of the first civilizations. Period.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was a really cool. Like there was some cool information. Like I said, it just as he was telling the story, I kind of like came back off of it a little bit. But at first, when I just started with a kid, I was like, oh man.
What did you think of the Eternium?
So after seeing the movie, I can see why it was there just for like some sort of rare element and possibly to give an explanation of these weapons that could at least hurt him in a minor way, or develop their bikes.
Yeah.
Like, it was because for knowing that they used Intergang is known for using advanced technology weapons.
Yeah, and I don't think there is any Intergang left after Black Adam got done with them. At least in Kahndaq, there's not.
Well, no. I think they're faction in Kahndaq. I think they were driven out, and any who survived ran with their tail between their legs.
Mm-hmm.
But we know that Intergang goes all the way back to Metropolis. It's usually where the head of Intergang is hanging out.
Bruno Mannheim. So I got thinking about Eternium as like, okay, maybe it's, because I feel like they needed that to build the crown for Sabak. I was like, okay, I could have kind of done without that, but it is what it is, right? I like the idea that maybe they were just needed to find the crown, period. I did think it was kind of interesting as the thought of this substance, maybe because the Rock of Eternity is connected to Kahndaq, and like Eternium is because it's something connecting the rocks.
I mean, it could just be some sort of magic-infused rock from, like you say, the Rock of Eternity, and that's why it exists only in Kahndaq.
Or the Rock of Finality.
Being the mirrored upside down, the basic hell of
Magic.
opposite of magic, yes.
Yeah, I tried to do some reading on it today. There's not been a lot done in the comics, because in the Rock of Finality, their evil forces is the 7 virtues of men, while here from the Rock of Eternity is the 7 sins. They have to they battle the 7 virtues. That's why I said like that whole story like.
So it's a deep pull that they could use to their advantage.
I just feel like Sabak and that whole lore is a really great villain. Like, I think it's the ultimate villain that Black Adam and Shazam would have to fight together. But they used it for Black Adam. Well, that's fine. We need someone for him to battle, right?
Oh, absolutely. And it had to be somebody powerful, because he's the most powerful being on this planet.
Yeah, which begs a question I have later, and we'll get there. We'll kind of go. I was thinking we'll go character by character, building up to Black Adam, since he has the most in the film. Does that sound good to everybody?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, Jeannie, we'll start with you. Your thoughts about Cyclone. We'll start with the lowest character and go up.
The lowest character. I don't know much about her. But I liked her. I thought her whole wind effect was kind of cool, to be honest with you. I even liked the colors and stuff that was in the wind.
Of course, you like the colors of the wind.
Yeah, I do like the colors of the wind. Yep.
Pocahontas dig.
Thanks for spelling it out for us.
You're welcome.
If you didn't know it, you're uncultured.
I feel like I didn't get to know her in this film. It was more of like hey, there's this character. She's kind of smart. She has wind powers. There. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. She was just kind of like almost like tossed in the film.
And I have a question about that, and we'll get there here in a second.
So I don't know. I guess I like her for what she is and what I know of her, which isn't much, to be honest with you. I feel like she was probably, other than her cool, like, action-packed scenes and stuff, she was a kind of a bland character, just not a whole lot of oomph behind her. I didn't really understand why she was there, if you will. Yeah. They didn't make her presence like known, I guess, that makes sense.
No, I agree with you, and that's going to go into a question I'll pose here in a moment. I liked her for what she was bringing. They talked about quickly the nanobots, and she said that she was kidnapped at 15 by a scientist. And James, were you thinking Tio Morrow?
That's certainly a possibility. He did really do those elemental
Because I know
robots.
she's supposed to have some connection to Red Tornado, and I don't know what it's supposed to be exactly, but I know that she's supposed to be connected to Red Tornado.
Well, then
So-
that really is the only logical conclusion, that it would be Tio Morrow.
Of course, it would be Spock. Good job. Bringing in the logic. But so I liked her. I thought, what'd you think about her?
I liked her. I thought what she did was really interesting. What she brought. She talked about her powers and the colors. I mean, I love the slow motion, especially when they used it for her, because everything she did was like an artwork piece.
Yes.
Just a lot of colors. She looked beautiful in the shot. All the things that were flying around her because of her tornado abilities. Yeah, it was really cool. They kind of, when they introduced these characters, since we're starting with her, when they introduced these characters, like, they don't go into a whole lot of backstory, but just having conversation, getting to know each other.
Mhm.
They just drop a bit of information to tell you who they are and what they do, and just watch them for what they're doing here in the film. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So they give you just kind of enough to make you interested, and hopefully they show up again and we get more.
Hold that thought. And yes, Jania, what did you think of Solomon's favorite character?
Is that Atom Smasher?
Yes,
Yes.
it is.
Yes, I liked Adam Smasher. I thought he had like a little bit of a he was like the relief of the movie. You know what I mean? Like, he gave you that nice like breath of fresh air at times when you needed it, especially because all of these other characters were so very heavy. Besides the boy, is it Amon? Besides that boy, like, you didn't really have a whole lot of a comic relief or a, just an upbeat. So he was a good, like, upbeat kind of character, and we knew enough about him, I feel like, in order to make it interesting. And for you to feel like you weren't really, like, missing out on too much. So I liked him.
I enjoyed him. My favorite scene with him was when they go to talk to Black Adam and he's eating like a bucket of chicken, and Dr. Fate like takes it away, and he's like, because he makes the comment about it takes a lot of energy to smash atoms.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that he was very green. This is kind of his first big outing. We see Uncle Al, his uncle who he inherited his power from, Henry Winkler, the Fonz. Really?
That's
That was a random
Yeah.
drop. We do know from our conversations that Adam Smasher and Black Adam do form a friendship bond, and through a lot of things, Adam Smasher aids Black Adam. I thought it was just enough, and much like Cyclone, like, I'm glad they're there. And yeah, James.
Well, getting into I liked Adam Smasher himself. He had some interesting dialogue. He, the way he moved around in a scene, like, he used the space. He had good chemistry with everybody, with Cyclone, with most of his wordless interactions with Dr. Fate. And definitely his interactions with Hawkman. Henry Winkler as his uncle, like, that's really awesome. And he talks about working with Carter before, so that's something even more interesting.
It is. All right. So what about Adrian Tomas, aka Isis, but not Isis yet? What do we think about her?
I love her. She was probably up there for one of my favorite characters. I don't know, once again, don't know much about Isis.
Neither do we.
But as far as the DC version of Isis goes, but I think that she's pretty awesome. Spoilers, right? So
Yeah.
I can go into the fact that she's, either a descendant of Black Adam's woman, or she's a reincarnated version of Black Adam's woman. Whatever the case may be, I really love how strong of a character she was. And it wasn't like we weren't, and I hate saying it like this, but we weren't shoved like the whole woman female empowerment thing like down our throats with her character, I don't feel like, which was kind of nice. But she still showed that side of herself with how having to feel like that was something that was like an agenda that was being pushed at us. So I don't know. I really liked the power that she definitely held and carried as a character as a whole. I liked how she tried to be an example. And it wasn't always about like revenge. She was just trying to do what was the best thing for her people. And yeah, she was awesome.
I agree.
Inspiring, honestly.
I agree. I just want to say that I like how this was a mainly Middle Eastern style cast and film and everything that didn't have to deal with painting them as like stereotypical terrorists.
Yeah.
But that wasn't something that had to be brought up. Like, of course, Ishmael was a terrorist technically, but whatever. We don't have to use the T word. I liked her. I pointed out to Jania the fact that in the scene where we see Teth's wife, you see the necklace, and earlier Adrian had mentioned the necklace being a family heirloom. So I'm leaning more on the descendant right now, just because it mirrors, spoilers, Ishmael being the last descendant of the king, and the fact that we had characters that could have talked on reincarnation, but that wasn't brought up.
Yeah.
I felt that was interesting. James, your thought on Isis?
She was a good character. She was a strong mother. Interested in the freedom of her country, the freedom of her people. She's just a good woman, good strong woman, and the things that she brought up, the country being under occupied insurgents for 27 years, and then the JSA shows up, different things pointed out like that. Her being the scholar and finding the crown. I mean, that was cool. Her being that character as
and
well.
Her final words when they were like, "What's your final word?" And she was like, "Shazam," and frees Black Adam.
Yeah, and she's the one who frees him. And I didn't notice that about 2 times I saw it. I didn't notice that about Black Adam's wife wearing the necklace.
Then I'm just awesome.
Yeah, that's something I didn't see.
Because I'm awesome.
So
we're going to press pause and hear a few words from our other podcasts on Press Play Podcast Network.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. Here's how Books with Brooks works. We read one book a month, and then we talk about it. Classics like Stephen King's The Shining, debut novels like We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lang, and tons of other compelling, life-changing stories, one book and 1 month at a time. So come read along with us and then listen in.
If you are like Tyler and James and can't get enough super talk, check out these other podcasts. Digging for Kryptonite, Supergirl Radio, The Last Sons of Krypton, The Superboy Legacy Podcast, All-Star Superfans, Superman the Animated Podcast, The Aspiring Kryptonians, Always Hold On to Smallville, The Geek of Steel, and Truth, Justice, and Hope.
Remember to check out Krypton Report on all social media platforms. Go to linktree.com/Krypton Report. You find all of our information. $1 a month. You'll get extra special content that you don't get on the main show, like movie commentaries and whatever else comes out of our mouths. So check it out, patreon.com/Krypton Report.
This is Dan Jurgens, and if you want to have a good time, keep listening to the Krypton Report.
So I was trying to see as much as I could, you know. I seen it twice.
There's a lot visually in the movie.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the reveal of his powers, the fight scene in the cave, and then outside of the mountain. Yeah.
Just everything there that just keeps on going.
Just keeps on going. This is an action-packed movie.
Now, on to one of the characters that I was most excited for. Dr. Fate.
Love. Pierce Brosnan. I mean, okay. So sometimes I see him as very cheesy. So
That's because of Mamma Mia.
What?
That's because you watch Mamma Mia.
No, just in general. But I really, honestly, I liked him in this character a lot. I feel like it made sense for him. Really hope that we get to see him in the future. And I know that he died in this technically, but
I think about it kind of like in Young Justice.
I was to say, Dr. Fate in the magic realm, it's not exactly like death is the end of it all.
Right.
I will say I was a little bummed that the word Naboo was never said.
Yeah.
Like, that was a little kind of bummery of just because, you know, right now in the comics we have what is it, Khalid?
Yeah.
Dr. Fate. So we can be setting it up. Yeah. We could be setting that up. You know, because Fate doesn't die, it changes person.
Yes.
And Kent Nelson was, like, he talks about he's been alive for over 100 years.
Which I think is fantastic. Like, they use a version of him, and then, like, you get a taste of what Dr. Fate is. You get to see Kent Nelson, but then, you know, you automatically get that chance to get the new, younger version.
Mm-hmm. Where'd my phone go? I saw a quote from the director. I thought this was interesting, since we're in spoiler territory. It said, Dr. Fate sacrificed himself so Hawkman could live. He potentially could have beaten Sabbac, but in that present prophecy, that would have meant that somehow Hawkman would have died. That's what he was trying to prevent.
Because he's awesome.
I think I would have liked another maybe 15 to 30 minutes in this movie, because I feel like we could have built up some of the Justice Society stuff, because I would have liked to see a little bit more of that relationship, kinship between Hawkman and Kent. But I'm not complaining. I thoroughly enjoyed Dr. Fate and everything he did. The only thing I could think to myself was, it would just suck having to carry the helmet around all the time. Like, he doesn't put it in, like, on a backpack or have any way to, like, attach it to a belt or anything.
Oh, no, that's why when he takes it off, it just disappears. And he summons it right back.
Not always. Like, you see when he's walking up the stairs holding that thing like a football?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I think there's an attachment there too, though, right? So it's not just about the fact that like he's burdened with it, but he wants to be burdened by it.
That's a good thought. He wants to be.
Well, I mean, it's like I said, it's like an addiction almost.
It's deep.
Just saying. So you wouldn't always notice the weight of something like that if you're addicted to having its presence.
I also just hate holding stuff and not having my hands free.
You know, you talk about like Pierce Brosnan and like having a cheesy quality. I think that's just him, you know, part way. Some of like his theater background.
That's
like
what I was saying.
Being a little extra cheeky that way.
And, you know, there's nothing wrong with it, you know, in certain characters and stuff, but I didn't really get a whole lot of that in this, and that was kind of cool. You know, like, I felt like, you know, I don't know, I felt like there was more depth this time around for him than maybe what I'm used to seeing. So, yeah.
Yeah, I really liked his Dr. Fate. I thought he was definitely a standout character. And all of his deliveries, I mean, even his comedic lines were just delivered with such a deadpan, only a deadpan delivery he could deliver those lines with. Right. You know? Yep. His sarcasm line, it's like, well, that's technically just a lie.
Oh, he's got a point. He did it your way.
What was the one line that he said where he's like, "I'm gonna sit this one out"? Like,
yeah. He's just eating a mint. I think I'll sit this one out. And then they like come at him, and he just disappears out of the chair, and he's standing at the doorway on the balcony.
That was great.
It was perfect. I loved it. I love Dr. Fate.
Yeah, he was awesome. Even my mom, who doesn't like Pierce Brosnan all that much, enjoyed it.
Yeah, I know your mom hates some of the most interesting actors. Right?
She does.
So Hawkman.
Love once again. I love who they chose. I don't know his name.
Aldous Hodge.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I love that guy. I thought he was fantastic at it. I think that there is a raw kind of quality to Hawkman, and he kind of embodied that beautifully. What I mean by, how am I trying to say that? Like raw as in, he's not always somebody that you get along with. At least that's the way that I see him, you know, like he's kind of more of a hardball kind of person, not very cuddly, very rough around the edges in personality wise. And I feel like he definitely encompassed that for me. You know, and I really wasn't sure what to expect. Once again, tried not to have too many expectations before the film. So, yeah. I think he got a little annoying a couple of times, but that's just the character in the sense of like,
he's very black and white.
Yes. But if we know anything about Hawkman, you kind of understand where that mindset might be coming from. Just saying, like for a dude who's lived lifetimes, who's seen it all, like I feel like after a while you would become a little bit numb to things. It would be harder for you to see that there is such a thing as gray. Because if you don't live in absolutes, I feel like it could drive you crazy. Just saying, I see it.
No, I will say I have liked Aldous Hodge since he shoved that dagger into Sam Winchester's back. He's like, thus making Dean sell his soul.
Oh shoot, I totally forgot about that.
Damned to hell, you know, and then giving us our whole plot line for season 3. And he was on this show called Leverage. That was cool too.
He's a good actor.
He is. I think he did great as Carter Hall. I think I just want to see a video of his Hawkman just beating the crap out of the guy from Legends of Tomorrow, Michael Shanks. Just, bam, 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 suck this axe.
Can I say also too that it's kind of, not that I like to bring race up a whole lot, but it's kind of like a relief to see Carter Hall as not a white man.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Just saying.
I feel like if you and me, James, you and me, when this is over, you and me. St. Louis, that's what St. Louis said afterwards. She'd look at me. She's like, "You and me, Daddy. You and me."
That's funny.
Oh man, she's a hoot. I feel like there's one character I feel like didn't get developed enough. It was Hawkman.
I agree.
In the sense of Hawk. Okay, so I read an interview with Aldous Hodge in the back of. I don't know if you read it, James. I think it was in the back of actually Son of Kal-El, the recent one, because they've been doing those backup like interviews on the last page, and he mentioned that Hawkman's just a dude. And he's just his power and like his ability to fight comes from he's wearing nth metal armor, or ninth metal if you're Scott Snyder. So there is the quick drop about nth metal in there, but it talks about he's just wearing armor. He's not super powered, and that he is, he has Thanagarian tech and everything. So I find that fascinating. That he's not like, because there's always that like Thanagarian alien kind of thing, but it just, this Hawkman.
Yeah, Hawkman's history is messy.
So that's why I kind of wish there had been a line or something about like, I'm not afraid of death. He's talking to Fate.
Thank you.
And he could have been like, I'll see Shira again, or
we'll
be reunited,
yes.
or something like in the JSA headquarters. I still said the JSA. I've been watching Stargirl. We saw maybe Shira's armor or something, or something where Fate says we'll meet again, old friend. Something alluding to that there's more to Hawkman.
Right.
Honestly, it just depending on which direction they went with him as a character and his storyline and stuff, like he, in a lot of ways, would be able to understand Black Adam unlike anyone else.
And maybe that's why he's angry at Black Adam.
Well, I mean, we do get frustrated with the mirrors that we see in other people, that are us.
What's your thoughts, James, on Hawkman before we go down a little bit more of this Hawkman rabbit?
Yeah, I mean, if you could really definitely go down a rabbit hole, just to say, like, they didn't give us any of that, so at the moment we just kind of know what we've seen. Aldous Hodge did fantastic, like, the way he was kind of down the middle, black and white, good and evil, hero and villain. The action scenes, his armor is so cool. His weapon, the way it transforms, like it all just comes from like his armor. Like the wings come, the helmet comes, and the weapon. And like speaking of the helmet, like Hawkman is like he's a hawk, and they've got really good eyes, and he has striking eyes in that helmet.
Yes,
like,
he does.
I don't know how they accentuated it, but no other live action Hawkman, they look like a dude wearing a hawk mask. Like
Dude's got great eyes.
He's got this, and his eyes just pierce through. So, and then I must say that I love the Hawkman branding. He's got the Hawkman on the doors. He's got the Hawkman on the seat backs. He's got it everywhere.
So
he owns his brand.
Yes, he does.
Here's my question to you guys. Do you feel that all this is because they gave us just enough of the Justice Society to make us question things, to want more, to give us a Justice Society movie with Hawkman as the lead?
Probably.
I hope.
Like, would you want that?
Well, see now, like, that might have been a route that they certainly had projected, perchance, because, Jeff Johns had been doing a lot of things behind the scenes with DC and producing stuff, and JSA is one of his more well-known properties. They're more well-known for their Jeff Johns run than their, Golden Age stuff
I feel like the movie gave
by
us
modern audiences.
just enough, because these things we asked for, you could have done this, unless you're going to do a Justice Society film. Because I think a Justice Society film could be really interesting. So this is kind of my headcanon right now as I was watching this, is like in the comics where they had the what do you call it? Was it the Justice League of America that Amanda Waller made?
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel like that's
52.
that's kind of what the Justice Society is. Like, it was an older group that is now basically being used by Waller. Like, she's kind of recruited Hawkman to kind of start doing things, and he started to form a new team. So there's a history with these characters. We don't know who all's been on the team, who hasn't been on the team.
Well, with his black and white view, she could easily manipulate him into, quote unquote, capturing the bad guys that she could use for her Task Force X.
Exactly. And that's why I'm thinking, like, there's a lot to mind in just the characters of, and she's using the Justice Society kind of, because I look at, probably, like I said, this is my headcanon. The Justice League is kind of like the Rogues. Like, they're not going to bow to Waller. But the Justice Society is kind of like playing ball, Like, sure, we'll help out. All right, you have an assignment you need us to do? No problem. And I think that could be an interesting arc and development for Hawkman, especially to develop his story more about the reincarnation, what Carter has been through, the different lives that he's been, Hawk Girl and everything.
Well, that's how they introduced Wonder Woman in BPS. That's how they introduced Aquaman in Justice League. Bring these characters in, then you have a chance, then they have something coming down the line.
Exactly.
Introduce the characters, and then you can give them something more, especially if they're received well.
And that's where we can get more of, like, who Cyclone and Atom Smasher are.
Truth.
As they rebuild a bigger Justice Society compared to what they once had, So I think it's a very good property to mine and build, because we also know that Black Adam has a lot of history with the Justice Society, so they could pop back up again.
They definitely set it up for some kind of a future here, even if they aren't able to do it, it's set up to go that direction if it needs to.
Let's touch on Waller for a second. So, did you catch the Peacemaker connection, James?
Yeah, Harcourt.
Yeah,
in the prison.
Jania's like, who? I'm like, the blonde. She's the blonde from Peacemaker. She's like, oh yeah, I didn't catch it. I'm like, okay.
I wasn't a faithful watcher of Peacemaker like you, Ty.
But do you really want to taste it?
Do you really? Yeah.
That is a catchy ass song. Like,
oh yeah,
it is.
Dude, and those guys rock too. I watched them play it. I watched them play it acoustically. The dude just singing to the acoustic still wails. It's awesome.
Nice.
My question, and I asked Jania this: who all does Waller have in her prison?
Yep.
Oh, I was very curious. I looked at it. She had like noticeably 3 different sizes of cells, like normal person size cells, like Steppenwolf size cells, and then somebody even bigger.
And this
like
isn't
2 of those.
This isn't the kind of like prison that we saw, like
it's not Belle
Suicide
Reeve
Squad or the Suicide Squad, where they're in prison. This is suspended animation style prison.
Yeah, this is the suspended animation cells that we see them in Young Justice, like on Warworld or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then it says a Task Force X black site, so it's not even a listed prison. Only Waller and the people who've been there know its location and its who they hold there.
So, all right, here we go. Mr. Teth Adam himself, Jania.
Yeah. So I kind of mentioned this in a recording earlier that Ty did with us in the van. But I wasn't sure what direction they were going with him at first because, I loved how they kind of threw you for a loop, especially those of us who don't know the whole story of Black Adam. They threw us for a loop at the beginning where it was almost like we assumed that Black Adam was the boy. But then, at the end we get the whole like, nope, it's actually the boy's father who told him to not be a hero, basically. I absolutely love that storyline, that train of thought. I think that it is much more powerful in a lot of ways than somebody who was just, granted gifts by the gods. Instead, he was picked by his son because his son loved him. And in all honesty, I feel like having that as his like oomph, if you will, it really makes his character. And I love that part about him.
Well, that was changed for the movie so that we have a little bit more sympathy towards him.
It's a good call. It's a really, really good call because it adds some.
Well, because in the comics, he steals the power from his nephew and kills his nephew. So you wouldn't like him much if that was his story for the film.
No.
Right, exactly.
No, you can't be doing that to The Rock either. You know what I mean? Like, they knew what they were doing. They were like, no. Everybody loves The Rock. We can't make him a complete villain.
And then the other way is just he was the first champion chosen.
Yeah.
And then he was corrupted and went evil.
This was beautiful to me because it almost, it's unique. You don't see this kind of storyline very often, at least from what I can think at this moment. It almost gives him like a Batman-esque feel, in the sense of like, at least that's what he feels like to me, like kind of like rising up from the ashes kind of a thing. And you see why he would be dark, but you also see why he would be light. But yeah, I think that he's a really great character. I love the depth. I love how you can see him trying to navigate like the modern world. And he's doing it through the eyes of this boy. And you never asked about Amon or whatever.
I'm getting there.
Okay, cool. I liked that too. I liked how he resonated so highly with this young boy, even more so than the woman. Because I feel like
Amon is his, could be
a descendant.
And, could not be.
He does have descendants in the comics. People who shared his bloodline since he was a slave in Kondak.
That's cool. I just, in a lot of other films and stuff, we would see the character like leaning in towards the female, you know what I mean? Because we're trying to make some kind of a, potential love connection, But in this, it wasn't about that. And there was a lot of like refreshing moments here. Yeah. A lot of refreshing moments, a lot of refreshing ideas where it's like we didn't go down the same old path that we always go down, I think that's what I liked about the film and about his character most of all, was it was just like you didn't know what to expect always. And it was unique and a breath of fresh air.
I said this to Jania, James, I want your thought, was Harut didn't know how to share his power, much like Billy would later learn to share his power, but he didn't know how to gift his power. So he gave his father his power. compared to just sharing his power.
And what I said to Tyler about that was that his father was dying at that moment. And at least to my knowledge and what I can recollect from Shazam, you know, Shazam gifted his powers to his family, and like shared them, but everybody was basically in a healthy state. And I'm wondering if maybe that had something to do with the fact that, you know, his father was getting ready to die.
Mortally wounded.
Yeah, he had to give like everything, you know. It's a sacrifice.
Yeah.
I do want to say that I found this out. The actor who played the champion, you know, Harut with the power, it's the actor who plays Young Rock, the older version of Young Rock on Young Rock.
Nice.
Cool.
So it's like, hey, you know how you play me over here? Want to come play me over here as my son?
Right.
Let's just be honest, though. There's not a whole lot of men on the planet that look like The Rock.
You know who The Rock's stunt double is? His cousin.
Yeah.
Who
all in the
has
family.
a very similar body build.
Yeah.
And everything. I will say I liked his Black Adam suit, his first one. But then I liked that at the end where he has his new suit, it looks like his suit, but with the adage of what Harut's suit was. So the way that Harut had the gold on and like the way the lightning bolt was for him, that's how it was represented on Black Adam at the end of the movie.
It was more honoring rather than like what is that syndrome that they say that people like have?
Imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome, right. Like he actually at the end owned who he was stepping into. You know, rather than feeling like an imposter. And if you feel like an imposter like that, you do feel broken. So it just makes sense.
It does make sense.
Go
ahead, James.
Oh, well, I mean, I definitely agree that it was because of his return, the way he came back. He came back with a cape, trying to be a little more superhero esque when he came back. I also heard like, well, he hasn't changed his clothes in 5,000 years, so like he Shazammed down, then he Shazammed back up, and it came back all nice and clean,
but
shiny.
When we first see him and he gets the power and everything, like he has that same look, like it's a burnt, destroyed costume.
Yeah, well, because it came from a place of rage. Well, because when he transformed, he had the same suit as the champion, the boots, the lightning bolt on the chest, just the waist clothing, and the bracers on his arms. And then when Harut was assassinated, he went up into a rage, and that's when Black Adam was born. All the black came all over it and destroyed like the champion suit.
Now, all right. So my continuity brain, because of how the backstory is told right now in my continuity
Tyler lets
brain,
it ruin his enjoyment sometimes.
I'm not Brian bad. I just like to make things work. You know what I'm saying? I'm not Brian bad, where Brian just hates everything. I just like to make it work. So my continuity brain.
It's not cool to knock Brian when Brian's not here. Jeez, Tyler, come on, man.
It's okay. We'd knock him in front of his face too. If we wanted to spend an hour like
we
arguing,
love you, Bri.
He knows that. If we want to spend an hour arguing, we would have brought Brian on here. But
that was my quid pro quo. said I'm starting first. Like, no, we're not doing this time. Stay on track.
My thought, they say he goes into a rage and he does everything. Right now, in my head canon, when he went in his rage and everything, he freed the sins.
See, that was my thinking too. Like,
and that was part of how he helped destroy Kahndaq.
Yeah, that was my thinking too. Was like if it, if and how it connects. Like the wizard says that he imprisoned him because of releasing the sins and stuff. Well, you know, he went for his vengeance, giant explosion of power he couldn't control, the Rock of Eternity being probably, you know, in and around Kahndaq at that time, like freed the sins, and that's why the wizards tried to imprison him.
That's my thinking.
Not because he killed people. Like,
yeah,
I don't really think the wizards have that, unless it's like a mass planet-wide genocide. I don't think they really have that concern.
Right. So that's kind of because the way the backstory's all chopped up and kind of given, like, that's my headcanon of what happened, of what Black Adam did. I will say, James, like, I know Jania is cool with this, but like, one thing that bothered me in this movie, there's two things in it that I would change, but the one that I'm debating is that he says Shazam and turns back. How did you feel about that, James?
Well, I mean, he's supposed to. The name Shazam is an acronym for the letters of the Greek pantheon, or the Egyptian pantheon that he's supposed, like, drawing his godlike powers from, whereas Shazam is kept in the red is the Greek pantheon.
But I mean, like, in the comics, everything that we've read and seen is when he says Shazam and he turns back, he ages 5,000 years rapidly.
Yeah, well, that's something that they obviously got rid of.
How did you feel about that
age? Well, I mean, I think in the way that they have to, like, in the comics, like, stop him when he's usually full on, like, villain when those things take place, when he says Shazam and you know, turns to dust. So I mean, for you to have an anti-hero character who is not going to go away anytime soon, I mean, that's just something that you're gonna have to change. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I mean, especially since the effects they did to shrink the Rock down were really good.
That was my next question. Wasn't that weird?
Yeah, right. To see him like a small guy, like an average man.
I would say small, no, average. Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he wasn't Steve Rogers small. He was Rock down to average.
Yes.
He's like what Steve Trevor would say, above average, you know? Not the average man, above average, you know. But that was just one of those things. I wasn't against it, but I was just kind of okay. I was like, that's different, but I'm going with it. Like, I'm not 100% against it. Like, I'm going with it. And it made me, I have some other questions here that I pose as more deep universe thinking questions. So we find out that Ishmael, okay, this homeboy who was working with Tomas, Adriana, and is basically the last descendant of the king. He wants the crown of Sabak because he wants to become Sabak and use the power to rule Kahndaq. And we see him basically needs a death, comes back to life as Sabak. What did you think about Sabak? He looked pretty cool. What did you think, Ju?
He looked like a red demon.
I mean, he looks like a comic book.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the comic book looks like. Like,
I mean, very much like that.
Okay. All right. Yeah. For who he is and what he is, like, it looked good. Might have, I don't know. might have been a little too cheesy. Okay, yeah, he looks like exactly like that. Holy shit. Sorry. Oh, okay. Yeah, like spot on, honestly.
I feel like I'm glad they didn't go the darker route that I thought they could go with him. Like, because in the comics, when they, in the Superman Shazam First Thunder, where they brought Sabak in was a surprise, it kind of went a little dark how they gave the guy the powers. So it was interesting.
I'll be honest with you, I could do without the red skin. Like, you could still get away with him being and looking demonic without his skin having to be red. And I feel like the red skin almost made it a little too cheesy. Because I'm seeing some iterations where maybe that's Black Adam as Sabak there. I'm not sure.
No, that's the Sabak that appears in the comic I was just talking about, the Superman Shazam First Thunder. He's a little bit different, and he like, it was a little darker how they gave him the powers.
But I mean, you could still achieve that look, you know, like give him the horns, keep all the stuff, even keep the, you know, pentagram on his chest and whatnot. But like, not make him red. I don't know. It just felt like a little too.
Maybe they didn't want to make it too like
cartoony.
Maybe that's what they wanted for it to not be too scary or anything.
Maybe.
But can we just talk about how Black Adam defeats him?
Yeah.
It was awesome. He ripped him in half.
If they were trying to make things not too scary, then why would they do that?
I don't know, but it was awesome. He just like, yeah.
Yeah, that was intense.
It reminded me how James like just looks all the time. Like he's about to rip something in half.
You think he does that at the gym?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, I practice ripping people in half.
You just take like those dummies. Just sit there and rip them.
Do you know that James was actually the stunt double? They just took out his face in the Avengers. When Avengers Age of Ultron, when Steve Rogers rips the piece of wood in half, that was actually James. They just put
just superimpose Chris Evans over.
Yes. I couldn't even get the sentence out. I was laughing.
That's hilarious.
No, you know, you said cheesy, campy. This movie had the right amount of cheese, the right amount of camp when it came, especially even when it came to like the comedic relief.
Like the uncle, like, stay away from electricity, but I'm an electrician.
Yeah,
I agree.
Like the uncle.
I agree. I think if I had to pick on anything, it would have been the demon the most.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and then you even get it from Black Adam, and I think it's natural the way you get it from him because he's acclimating to this world through the eyes of a 13-year-old.
Yep.
Which brings us to Amon.
Yeah. So, like, I think, yeah, that's. So it comes through kind of naturally, Black Adam doing some of the comedy that he delivers in this. But I mean, I like Sabak as a villain. Like, it was really cool how like they started it. Like, he was part of the story at the beginning. So like, and then the Crown, like he was this looming threat the whole movie, and you only get him right there in the third act.
Yeah.
For the final confrontation. But he's looming from the very beginning.
That's because by the time we get there, Inner Gang is no longer a threat because Black Adam's destroyed everyone.
He decimated him. Can we talk about that? Like,
yes.
He comes out of the mountain and they start playing Paint It Black and everything goes into slow motion and he kills like 100 people. In like it's all slow motion for him. It's like Quicksilver in the X-Men movies.
Yes.
Like everything he does, just minor changes of things here and there, and then time catches up to him, and like it all happens in at the same time, and the only thing you get out is the guy pulls a grenade out of his mouth and says, "Oh shit," and then everything explodes.
Yep.
And all the people he electrocuted, like there was a cavalry of at least 35 people that he just shot electricity through. His body count in this was massive.
Yeah.
They said send everybody, send it all. I mean, I like when he's like destroying the people in his tomb, and like he throws the one dude so hard that he rips his arm off. He's still holding the arm and drops it.
Yep.
Yeah, I loved when he picked up the guy, and like, you know, we all loved when Hulk smashed Loki into the ground. It's great.
Yeah.
But he grabbed this guy up by his one leg and just effortlessly, weightless, he smashed him into a rock, and the rock destroyed. Like, I was like, oh my God. I was like, he's dead. He's dead. He's dead. I tried to keep count from the beginning. I have to watch it more times. Yeah, you have to like freeze frame it.
I'm just waiting for the video on like kill count.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I want to see. It's just going to be racking up the whole way.
Can we just say that no matter what The Rock did, the Black Adam, right? Wouldn't he be the champion of the people?
Oh yeah, he's the people's champion.
Yeah.
He's the people's champion. No matter what The Rock does, he's still the people's champion.
Word.
I love the scene where he talks about, you know, the statue is not of him, it's of Harut.
Yeah, him delivering the story of what actually happened was really good.
Yeah.
Can we also talk about just how well this movie plays as a sister, brother, companion piece to Shazam? Like, just it feels like they exist in the same world. I think Amon and Freddie Freeman would have a good time hanging out.
Heck yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
they both love superheroes. I mean, look at Amon's room.
But like Amon, how he's like trying to give him a catchphrase, like "Tell him the man in black sent you."
Yeah, I love when he drops the guy and he's like, "Tell him the man in," boom, and he gets hit by a truck. He's like, "Oh."
My favorite is when he throws the dude when he's in like Asia, and Dr. Fate's like, "Is he dead?" And you see, he didn't make it. But did you catch how many times Black Adam destroys Superman?
Well, yeah, he fries his face. I love it because I think it's just a joke. Keep going at the headless Superman cameo.
Yeah,
like he burned the head off of Superman.
Yep, that's the first thing he does when he wakes up, and then when he's fighting Hawkman, he punches right through the Superman symbol poster.
Yeah, on the other side of the door or the wall.
Speaking of doors, he just makes them wherever he goes.
Yeah, that was one of the best lines that one of the best exchanges in the movie. Yep. Dr. Kent with Black Adam right there. I guess they didn't have doors where you came from. Sure they did. That's how we got in and out of places. That was sarcasm.
I thoroughly enjoyed the film. Now, I have a couple of questions here. If you want to think of anything, this is what I call deep universe questions. Is Black Adam more powerful than Shazam? With the different gods they use to channel their power, does that affect how powerful they are? And when Shazam shares the power, is he weaker because he's sharing his power compared to if he had it all? And then my last thing was, how does the gods and stuff work? I'm waiting that maybe we'll learn about that in the next movie, since we learned that all the old gods were supposed to be dead. And is it one champion per wizard? Now? Is it one champion per wizard?
Energy is neither created nor destroyed, so
7 thrones, 7 wizards.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what was really cool is we got to see how the wizards were killed trying to imprison Black Adam, and why Shazam is the only wizard left.
I was so happy Djimon Hounsou was in this movie. What? What?
Keep going.
Why are you laughing?
Because I know how much you love the dude.
I just love connective tissue, okay? I love continuity. They exist in the same world.
Jamon Hansu is pretty great, though. I mean,
He's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, he got to be so many different people. Like, he got to be the Fisherman King in Aquaman.
And he got to be Papa Midnight in Constantine.
And, yeah.
Yeah.
But is there anything else you can think of before I pose my last questions?
Oh, I mean...
We could probably go on and on. I mean, like
you can go on. We've talked about the characters. We could talk about the plot. You know, we could go beat by beat, whatever.
I think we'll save that for when it hits in 45 days when we do our first almost direct commentary watch.
I'm down. I'm down.
Dude, so am I. Like, this is like the first one. I'm like, let's just pop it in and go. My thing is the one thing of the film that I would change, because I think it sets up for a strong sequel, is I don't think he should have destroyed the throne. I think him sitting on the throne and kind of pointing himself now as a ruler of Kahndaq is an interesting way to approach a sequel, to give him an arc, because that's how part of how it is in the comics is he takes over as sovereign leader. And the idea of him building Kahndaq under him, I think, is how you set up so he doesn't end kind of on a heroic note as much as he ends on more of an anti-hero note, more of a rogue kind of person of what to do next. You know, a slave who has power, who now has the ability to lead.
But we don't know the full story here. So there's obviously something that is planned and a reason why they didn't do it that way.
I mean,
so
true.
I'm just saying, like, they did a pretty damn good job with this storyline. You know, in my opinion, to be honest. So yeah, I feel like we could kind of trust the process and see where it's heading.
Wow, you have no like sense of, man, that would be awesome. Like, that is true to the comics, how he always was the ruler of Kahndaq.
Yeah, I mean, that is the thing. And also, I mean, that's not like that can't be where he's gonna go either, like when he sees the way the world operates and treats Kahndaq. But it's kind of cool that he sees that throughout the movie he's not a hero. He doesn't want to be a hero. And he kind of embraces that anti-hero in the end, more of a protector role, less hero. He just becomes a protector of Kahndaq, of a place that he may now consider home. You know, because when he first says, well, then my home is gone.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't, you know, so...
Because he don't really care. He's like, whatever. I'm back.
Yeah.
Like, he's kind of angry. He's like, I'm back. What do I do?
Right. But I think it's more for the the character because of his son.
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't the champion, so, you know, his son was the champion, so he's doing the best he can, and maybe one day that is ruling Kahndaq, but right now it's just being that protector.
Oh, I mean, it's all good. It's all true. So, now, would you want...
I mean, it certainly would complicate the story, I think, you know, to do that right out the gate.
Now, do we want the sequel to be, like, Black Adam 2? Do we want to see Shazam and Black Adam 2 or Black Adam and Shazam 3?
Well, it kind of depends on where they leave off Shazam 2.
Because I feel like I think Shazam 2 would be the better place to have a post-credit scene with Black Adam in it.
I think it would, and, you know, like I had said earlier, I think the only way that, with the way they did this movie, I think the only way that kind of works in an antagonistic relationship if Billy is made to kind of believe from the Wizard and Black Adam's actions that he's a villain.
Yeah. Or maybe he slips up and does something that crosses that line or something, and the Wizard, like you said, because I know that Black Adam and Shazam, or Mighty Adam and Captain Marvel, have always been, hero villain, but recently it's been more like hero and antagonist. And they exist in this weird thing. So I think there could be a really interesting relationship formed there, and the different opposing views of them interacting. Because we have to see them interact somewhere together. It would not work. But any other final thoughts, Ju? Or are you just going to join us when we do our commentary here in like 40 some days?
I would do that for sure.
Yeah, for real. We're going to do that.
I was going to say, I saw that the UK is getting the movie in January in physical.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice. So that means we'll be right about there. So I'm definitely buying this one. Okay.
Oh, yeah,
As if I don't already, but you know what I'm saying. I got to read.
I was going to say, yeah, I need to. There's a couple I still need to get because normally I never let that pass. But with the streaming age, as well as money and interests for the most recent movies not to be like
as high,
yeah, as they had been previously, I didn't go out there and make it a point to have the extra money to get it physical.
Now, have you ranked this in your overall DC connective DCEU film universe?
So I haven't done like a ranking like on my letterbox or anything, but I could say that, Man of Steel and Justice League and Wonder Woman and BVS up there at the top. Black Adam is sitting right there, probably right above Shazam.
Mm-hmm.
Before going down to the others. So
in my post crisis film ranking, it sits at number 3. And everybody knows how I talk about the time how I look at all the DCEU films as being post and pre-crisis, because that's the way it makes sense, and it works that way. People come at me, argue with me. I'm right. Don't fight me. If I look at all the films right now on my letterbox, I have it sitting at number 6. Number 1, Man of Steel. Number 2, Zack Snyder's Justice League. Number 3 is Shazam. Number 4, Aquaman. Number 5 is BVS. Number 6 is Black Adam. 7 is Wonder Woman. 8 is The Suicide Squad. 9 is Birds of Prey. 10 is 1984. 11 is Suicide Squad. And 12 is Justice League. And that's after only seeing Black Adam one time. So it sits in the top 6. So.
Yeah, that's where it is for me.
Jania, thoughts?
I don't really have a ranking, to be honest with you, other than the fact that I would say that it's probably a top favorite of mine. So I don't have like my list, you know what I mean?
I can look at mine.
Well, I know, but like it's hard for me to just like come up with it out of the blue here, because I love Wonder Woman and I love Zack Snyder's Justice League. So to me, it's probably gonna go in the number 3 spot.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, we'll say that.
That's Wonder Woman right there.
Nice. Yeah, it's definitely like top 5, top 6 for me. I'm just thinking like which one did I have it at? Oh, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to hit my mute button, it didn't work. Excuse me. But It's definitely the best DCEU movie that has come out in a while. You know, besides Zack Snyder's Justice League, of course.
But like in theaters, new film.
Totally absolutely. It's definitely one of the better ones. I mean, you know, it's really hard to top some of those things that had come before. Man of Steel and Wonder Woman in particular.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, Jania, thanks for being here for Black Adam.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Teth Cole, hope you're doing well, man. Stay fresh.
Oh, I'm doing all right. Managing to stay healthy.
All right. And remember.
Solomon, what do you think about the movie?
I loved the movie. Like, it was super good, but the only reason I have to say about the movie
Yeah.
is, we didn't get another cutscene.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I also have one more thing.
Okay.
I really love Adam Smasher in the movie.
Yeah, I wonder why, because it kind of reminds me a little bit of you. What?
One time, the guys was like the flying guys on the cart said, hands up, and he put his hand up and smacked Hawkman. And Hawkman said, we do that, we talk. I forgot what it is, but he said we will talk. And you're like, okay. He said 2 times in the movie.
Yes, he did.
He said,
You and me. All right.
and also, I'm sorry.
You're fine.
I really love this story of Black Adam, like how his son died, and his mom died, and his son died.
Yeah, his wife.
His wife.
Solomon, did you...
Look up in the sky.
We just want to say if you've enjoyed this podcast, please check out other podcasts on the Press Play Podcast Network.